intro didn't quite work out the way that I had planned. What's going on, everybody? This is Sean of Raw Select Music, and I had already actually shot a different intro for this video first. Unfortunately, what happened was I had a DJ event slash album release party for a friend of mine, and I was going to include all the footage from that event at the beginning of this video, and unfortunately the footage is stuck in limbo on my phone. I can't get it off. So if you're at all interested in checking out some an on-the-ground look at what a small DJ event looks like in Japan, you can head over to my Instagram account and you can see the photos and videos from that event over there. I'm not going to try to force them off of my phone, so it's just going to have to do. You can also head over to my WordPress account, which is where I will feature the link for my friend's music. The name of the artist is Tasser. His newest album is called Bottom of a Lake, and I highly recommend that you check it out. Aside from just him being a friend of mine, his music is actually... as far as local musicians and friends music goes, he's one of the guys that I prop up as someone that I really admire and respect. So definitely go check that out. The rest of this video is going to be another recent record pickups, go through the records that I picked up recently, and then give you a little bit of an update as to not only what's going on with this channel, and a little expansion that I'm planning. So with all that being said, let's get into the meat of this video. So of course, if you actually have watched any of these record vlogs, I'll go through my 45s that I picked up recently. The first one I wanted to talk about was this Galt MacDermot, which has two Galt MacDermot sampled classics on 145. One is Coffee Cold, and the other one is Space. The Space one I know I've heard on a lot of different hip-hop tracks, but Coffee Cold immediately comes to mind because it was on the Prince Paul and Dan the Automator album, Handsome Boy Modeling School. And it's just like a really cool, laid-back, sort of piano bar loungy jazz funk track. I don't really have much else to say about it other than that, but this is a track that the moment that I heard it, I knew that I had to have this on 45. And if I can find the album at some point, I'll definitely be picking that up in the future. But yeah, super happy to have this in my collection. So the next one is a record that I used to have on a shitty Ultimate Breaks and Beats knockoff compilation, and now I actually have a halfway decent reissue of it, and on 45 no less, and that would be this hip-hop classic right here, Impeach the President, the Honey Drippers. I've got doubles of them, and I don't feel like this song really needs much of an introduction. If you've listened to any hip-hop, period, you're probably familiar with these iconic drums that kick this record off. And also the Roy C's theme song, which I had never actually really heard up until this point. There's also a pretty good funk track on here as well. And just mostly, I'm really happy to finally have a version of this song that doesn't sound like complete ass. Lastly, this is, I think, kind of funny, that if you've been watching these long enough, you may have noticed that I end up bringing up DJ Shadow and Cut Chemist product placement or brain freeze DJ mixes quite often. And once again, that trend continues. I picked this up recently, the Humpty Dump Part 1 and Part 2 by the Verbrettz, which is surprisingly got writing credits from Johnny Otis. Yeah, just it's really good up-tempo funk, and it starts off with an absolute monster of a drum break. Yeah, this is just It's one of those records that wasn't really in the want list for a long period of time, but once I found out that this was a Brain Freeze / product placement record, I knew I had to add this to the collection, so I'm really happy to have brought this guy home. Getting into the LPs that I picked up recently, this was one that I had been anticipating since I first heard one of the tracks on here, and that's Rose Spit 14KT Rose Gold. And I was originally going to do a review for this album this week, but I still kind of want to let my opinions on it sort of solidify a little bit more. But from what I've heard so far, this is easily the best producer, rapper, hip-hop album I've heard since Freddie Gibbs and Madlib. The beats on here are fantastic. Rose Spit holds his own. There's some great change-ups on here, and there's some great guest appearances on here. This, I didn't buy a lot of hip-hop albums this year, but this is easily going in my top 5 records for this year. Highly recommend that you pick it up. And just as a little bonus to show off that it comes on wonderful, wonderful, beautiful gold vinyl. So little extra bonus there. Next up is an album that before I bought the Rose Gold, I was going to review, and then Rose Gold happened, and that pretty much just took over everything that I was listening to. There's an album from, I believe, 2016 called The Comet Is Coming, and the name of the album is Channel the Spirits. Best described as Battles meets Sun Ra. Battles being the post-rock band that was really popular back in, I believe, 2007, and Sun Ra being the spiritual jazz musician, sun god, whatever you want to call him. I really, really like this album. Again, with the Rose Gold, I'm going to have to go back and listen to it a little bit more before I sit down and actually do a video about it. But I absolutely love this album, and I'm definitely looking forward to digging into it a little bit deeper. I'll say this much about it: if this album had come out this year, it easily would have landed in my top 5 without a question. And if you haven't checked this record out, I highly recommend that you do so. And then finally, I'm going to finish up on an album that I'm actually sort of lukewarm on right now, and that'd be Moonchild Voyager. So I got into Moonchild, as I'm sure a lot of people did, through the track that they did with Tall Black Guy last year on his Let's Take a Trip album. And I really, really like that track. But I was also sort of curious, wondering if that sort of vocal style would hold up for an entire album. And my initial impressions of it are, the album is solid, it's well made, it's well put together. It has this sort of breathy jazz vocals plus sort of jazzy, laid back, almost trip hoppy sort of instrumentals. And I find myself not quite as engaged as I would like to be with this album. Now, it could just be this is a bit of a slow burner, and that I just have to give it a few more listens to really sort of find the sort of details as to why I like this record. But as of right now, I give, much like my sort of lukewarm feelings on this record, I give this album sort of a lukewarm recommendation. But I am planning on coming back and doing a full-fledged review on this at some point in the future. So you can hold tight and hear my full, honest opinions about this record in a future video. That's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you got something from some of the records that I showed you and from the footage of my friend's event. As you might have noticed behind me, there's this weird thing that's sort of taking up the Anderson .Paak poster. That is a microphone. I am planning to start a Raw Select podcast or radio show, which is basically me talking about records and playing music for you. It essentially is going to be a supplement to my DJ mixes that I put up on Mixcloud. I might end up putting them up here on YouTube, assuming that the copyright police don't come after me. And essentially, it's just a way to try to get new content to you guys that's a little bit different from the just the record reviews, but also still trying to be informative at the same time. My goal right now is to have it out before the end of the year, and hopefully I can stick to that. You can expect a record review next week. It'll probably be the Rose Gold album. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you check me out on social media. Please comment, like, subscribe, all that good shit that every other YouTuber says. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.